Hey everybody, out for my walk today. Been doing pretty good with that since being off work and with Bam being over. Um, Definitely need to get a new hairstyle because I'm thinning out and I don't like it and I'm not happy with how it looks, and we'll figure it out. But regardless, out for my third walk in as many days. Weather's been gorgeous. It rained on Tuesday of this week. Today is Thursday the 10th of June, I think. You might catch some wind here on the microphone. Hopefully not too much. And yesterday I went and saw Top Gun Maverick with my oldest son, who I don't think he's ever seen the first movie. I haven't seen the first movie in, I don't even know, when did it come out? 86? I don't think I've seen it since it came out in theaters. Might have caught it on VHS once. Probably not. Wasn't a huge fan of it. It was a fine movie. Wasn't crazy about it. Wasn't really my style. I'm not a big romance kind of thing. But this movie was phenomenal. And if you have not seen that, you need to go see it. If you've not, by the time you see this, it might be streaming / rental / purchase thing. But
Halfway there, keep up the good work.
if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's got to be one of the best. I don't even want to call it a popcorn movie. One of the best movies in a while. Because it's just a movie. There's no agenda. The agenda is to tell a story about characters overcoming especially the main character, overcoming an obstacle. So, quite literally. But if you see that movie, you'll notice that it's pretty much, the third act of that film is pretty much the trench run with a few additional pieces tacked on the end. It's pretty much the trench run from Star Wars. And it couldn't be more of a dichotomy, right? We've had two movies now in the last 6 months. Really windy. Microphone's probably killing it. We've had two movies in the last 6 months. No Way Home and Maverick that understood how to treat legacy characters, understood how old characters who were loved by people, and if you treated them with care and love, would reward you with financial gain, compared to like a Star Wars, or even the new Marvel stuff, which I have not seen much of because I'm kind of over it. I was kind of over it after Endgame. Those movies are all the same at this point. There's not really much different about them. The new Thor movie is going to come out in a week or a month, whatever. I don't even know. And it's going to be the same tired crap. I did like Ragnarok, but definitely not interested anymore. But I digress. But if you go back to Top Gun Maverick, as a jet flies overhead, watch that movie. The third act is literally an extended version of the trench run from Star Wars. I call it Star Wars, I'm old. It's not Star Wars Episode 4. It's not Star Wars A New Hope. It's Star Wars. And Empire Strikes Back is Empire Strikes Back. And Return of the Jedi is Return of the Jedi. Anyway. It's literally that. And it's amazing. Great story. But the thing that kind of got me, since it does focus on an old character and I'm an older guy, I was struck by some of the concept of blooming where you're planted, right? So he wanted to be a pilot. That's what he wanted to be. He tried being something else in the Navy and didn't work out. He didn't like it. He was a little stuck because of what happened to him and Goose, with Goose dying. He was a little bit traumatized about that. Not even a little bit. He was pretty traumatized about that. But even with that as part of the story, one of the key messages was do the best you can where you are. It's really windy. It's probably going to be horrible. But do the best you can where you are. Don't pine for what you don't have. Have a level of contentment Not, not in terms of not succeeding and not growing, but have a level of contentment in the role that you're in, whatever that role is, right? So, if you're like me and you're a counselor and you know that the more money is in supervision, and you know you've tried that, it's like Maverick did in the movie, you know it's not for you, then be content where you are, grow where you're planted. And I do mean grow. I don't mean stagnate. I don't mean get lazy. I don't mean become lackadaisical. I mean grow. And so this movie was a challenge to me to kind of recommit myself to growing where I'm planted. Spent the last year struggling to adjust to changes at work and getting bogged down in things I could not control. Largely, that was the big thing for me. Things that changed I had no control over, and I tried to cope with that I didn't cope with that the best. So, really windy. You probably won't even hear this video. So anyway, amazing film. Probably won't go see it again just because movies are so expensive. If we were 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and movies were a little more reasonable, I might go see it again. Probably not going to spend the money. Saw it in IMAX on a matinee. And really enjoyed it. It was a good movie. Enjoyed the full IMAX experience. But probably will not see it again in theaters, even though it would be good to see it. But not going to. Need to save the money. So if you're in a position where you feel stuck, you're envious of other people having more money or more control, more power, more responsibility than you have, I don't want to discourage you from trying to grow outside your role. I think that's fine. But I think you need to do so with a sense of commitment to growth. And if you figure out that maybe you should just be content where you are, instead of being discontent and wanting more. So yeah, grow where you are. If your advancement or your next phase of development is stunted for some reason or not happening when you want it to, don't let that frustrate you. Let that drive you back into growing where you are and improving the skills that you need for the job you currently have or the thing you're currently doing. It could even apply to your relationships. Like, there comes a point when you need to distance yourself from people if they are, I hate the word toxic. I don't like that word. I think that's an easy out for us. If they're difficult people to deal with, you may need to distance yourself from them, and there's nothing wrong with that. You love them as much as you can, and then there comes a point where, I can't. they're not. It's not working out, and you need to distance yourself so that you can continue to grow as a person. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. So, great movie. Definitely would see it again in theaters if I felt like I had the money to do so, or wanted to spend the money. So, but I wanted to cover that today, and just talk about how I'm still a firm believer that had Star Wars, the sequels, just respected Luke Skywalker. Like, they could have killed off Han in the first movie, and at least diehard fans would have been like, well, Harrison Ford never really liked Han Solo anyway, so at least he's happy. He's no longer in these movies, yada, yada, yada. But if they just would have given us a heroic Luke, much like a heroic Maverick appeared in the film, as a true mentor and a true servant leader, I think it would have been amazing. And I think that there would have been no problems, and I think that the fans would have loved the movies. and the sequels would have been awesome, and there would have been no problems. There would have been very few problems. It would have been picking other things out, but everyone would have been at least been able to turn to that treatment of Luke and be like, well, Luke was a real hero, and it would have covered a multitude of other sins. But because they decided to deconstruct Luke, tear him down, undermine him, they didn't get that. They didn't get that goodwill from fans because they weren't acting in good faith. They weren't acting in goodwill. They were acting in subversion and undermining and deconstructing. And nobody wants that. I mean, I know there's some, I'm sure there's some people that, you know, that like the movies, or they say they do, or like them, but I have no idea. But most people don't want that. And especially coming from a generation when there were real heroes in film, things were actually good versus evil. Yeah. So go see Maverick. If you're struggling where you're at, refocus your efforts on getting better at what you do. Love your neighbor. Peace, love, understanding.